Okay, so I'm here to show you the next step of the project. So mine is not completed. I would need 7 game pieces or more. And then I would also need some theme to my board, as well as I could put some other items on top of the board besides the game pieces if I wanted to. Or designs. You could draw designs on these different squares of the game board also. Okay. So the next step, let's pretend it's all good. I have 7 pieces. You might want to check with me first so I can say it's all good. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to color and Sharpie just the game pieces. I'm not Sharpieing the game board yet. So some of this you may need to do in a black pen if it's too small, okay? Some of it you can do in an extra fine point Sharpie. If you don't have one of those, you're probably going to just have to use a black colored pencil, or you can use I don't know, whatever you have available, but I don't have these to give out for everyone because they're expensive, so do what you can. The other thing is that once you Sharpie this, you can't erase it, so make sure it is how you would like it. So once I Sharpie all those, I'll take my colored pencils, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to color the objects. So I'm not actually coloring the game board right now. I'm just coloring the pieces. And we're doing this on purpose because it cuts down on people making errors on their projects. So I go through as best as I can, and I am going to color my pieces in colored pencil. Now, if you have like little gel pens or skinny markers or things like that, and you want to color it in marker, that's fine. I don't care. I just think that with these game pieces, some of them are really small. And so it sometimes is really hard to actually color these effectively with like larger markers. Okay, so pretend that I colored all of my game pieces and I outlined them with my Sharpie or my pen or whatever I have. And they look fantastic. They look totally awesome and beautiful. Okay, then that is when I can start outlining my lines in Sharpie. Not until I get all of these colored though. So I'm going to use a regular Sharpie for this. So a fine point, it's called fine point Sharpie, and I'm going to need my ruler. Now I understand if you don't have an 18-inch ruler, it's not as hard now because we can just move the ruler along. So what I'm going to do is when I outline, I have to be careful not to go through all my objects. So when I outline, I'm going to put my ruler to the left of the line if I'm right-handed. Outline when I get to the object, stop, hop over it, and then go next. Just like that. That's why I wanted you to color the objects first, because if it's colored, there's less of a chance that you're going to draw through it because you're going to see it. The problem is once you Sharpie, you can't really reverse it. Even if you white it out, which I do have white out, but even if you white it out, you can usually still see that you made an error. Okay, so I'm going to go through, I'm going to Sharpie with a regular Sharpie all of my lines. Okay, so pretend even these vertical ones too, those all need to be Sharpied. So pretend that I have all of my lines Sharpie. Okay, and it looks beautiful. I used a ruler. There's no problems. I'm going to go through, and before I make the checkerboard, I'm going to mark with a pencil where I'm going to color. Okay, and the reason that we're marking with a pencil is because if you mess up, all you have to do is erase it. So I'm going to decide if I want this one here to be colored in. So let's say I do. So I'm going to put an X with a pencil. That means I'm going to color that in. Then I go to the next one. I don't want that because it's a checkerboard. So I mark this one with an X. Go to the next one, skip it, mark this with an X, skip it, mark this one with an X. Okay. Now, because these have a side to it, if this is colored, this is going to be colored too. So I'm going to go through, mark this with an X because that's one unit, skip, mark this with an X because it's one unit, mark this with an X because it's one unit. This is also going to be colored. Okay, then I go to this side. So if this is an X, I skip, put an X, skip, put an X, skip, put an X. Same thing on this side. If this is colored, this is going to be colored too because it's the side of the same box. If you need to pause this video at any time, you can. All right, so let's do the rest of the checkerboard. So if this is colored, that means this is not. So this one is going to be colored. I know it's hard to see. So the X goes here, and this is actually this one right here. This is part of it. Okay, so when I color it, all right, skip, put an X. They're on a diagonal if you've noticed. Skip, put an X, skip. All right, next line. So I'm going to put an X, skip, X, skip, X, skip. And you're doing this so that you have every other box an X. So I'll go over here, put an X, skip, X, skip. Because when you color this, you're not going to be able to reverse it. So if you want the teacher to check it as soon as you're done, if you want me to check it, or Miss Joyce, that's totally fine. The back is a little bit more difficult, so I understand if you need help with that. So basically, every other one you are going to color. Now, we are assuming that I have all my Sharpie done, and it looks fantastic. It looks beautiful. Now, I can use a Sharpie to color those in. I could use a marker if I have my own personal markers, or I can use colored pencil. And it doesn't have to be black. It could be whatever color you want. So like this is actually a purple. I could color in every space with an X purple. So I could color this in purple because remember, this is one unit here. Pretend I colored nicer, but I'm not going to spend all my time on your video coloring nice. Okay, so this is part of the one unit here. Here's the color. And pretend I'm coloring nice. I'd get like an F on coloring on this thing. Color here until I get done. I could also put a second color on here if I want. I'm going to go ahead and show you what my finished one looks like because obviously it looks much neater. If you have questions, feel free to ask me or if you want me to check your work. Thanks.